Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivemy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of superhero television or film, something heroic, something special, and this week we're driving fast. We gotta go fast. It's Sonic again. That's right. No?
It's not Sonic.
It's not
I'm
Sonic.
So sorry. It's a video game movie.
Oh.
But not in a way that we've ever done a video game movie
Do they
before.
go fast?
They do go fast, you son of a gun.
Okay. You can see how I got a little mixed up there.
Normally fast or a furious. Either
Okay.
a Sonic
Yeah.
or a furious.
Yeah.
But now a new third option has emerged.
Lay it on me.
A Gran Turismo based on a true story.
A Gran Turismo based on a true story. It's very. You love slipping in the based on a true story.
Okay, not everywhere, but in some countries, that's the official title. The based on a true story is part of the title. And
Gotcha.
I think that's very funny.
And also, it's more entertaining to say it like a little bit softer in a scenario like that.
It always is.
Gran Turismo based on a true story. Like you got to do it just a little soft. It's a parenthetical. It's
not fictional.
Yeah.
It's partly true.
But you want to say it like it's italicized.
Oh, it's in a bracket.
It's in a
It's
bracket.
absolutely-
It's a parenthetical. It's italicized. It's based on a true story. So we're having fun with.
Smaller font.
It's a smaller font.
Got to be able to hear it in your voice.
So this week we are talking about Gran Turismo, and it is a new one. It just came out, and as we do anytime that we talk about a new TV show or movie, we are going to give you a spoiler-free review. So in case you're on the fence about seeing it, or you just want to taste while you're on your way to see it, whatever your reasons might be, we're going to give you a spoiler-free review. And then once you hear the theme song, that is when we will enter the spoiler-filled section. So, for the spoiler-free review, let's start with the usual, the simple question. Diana, did you like it?
I did like it. I quite liked it. It's nowhere near a love, but it's a very simple movie, and they do a good job with it. I think unlike a lot of movies I've had a problem with over the last couple of years, the third act is the strongest part, which almost never happens anymore. Every movie we kind of like is always like the first two acts are good and the third act falls apart. In this movie, the first two acts are fine, and then the third act really brought it all together and figured out what the movie was. So then you're leaving the theater, you're like, yeah, I did like it. I had a great time because the third act is the end. So the third act rocks, and the first two acts are fine. So it's a little unbalanced, but it's fun, and it's just a couple of actors giving great performances. David Harbour is crushing it, of course. It's the best Orlando Bloom's ever done, which isn't a high bar, but he was quite enjoyable in this. And the racing was fun. They don't really make sports movies anymore, so this was just a nice little straightforward treat of a film. I had a really fun time. Yeah. I liked it. Andrew, did you like it?
I'm very much on the same boat as you here. I really liked it. I thought it was very good. It didn't quite make it to a love for me. This isn't a movie that I don't think I'll find myself seeking out or rewatching this, but I'm really glad that I went to see it. I had a good time watching this. It was fun, it was entertaining, it was visually really well done. I agree, it's surprising some of the performances that this movie brings out of people. Just really good small character pieces that are in that weird in-between that no one gives any love, where they're not just saying the lines like themselves. They're not treating it like it's just kind of a blockbuster movie where they don't need to try, but they're not Oscar baiting either. They are giving a performance, and it just is in this nexus of the least appreciated type of performance that anyone gives in movies. But I really like seeing that. I appreciate it, I'll say that much. So some performances that I really appreciate, really fun, a visual delight. It looks great, it sounds great, and I agree, it's all rise. It gets nothing but better as the movie goes on. And exactly what you said, I even made a note to bring it up to be this is the opposite problem of literally every movie we've had slight problems about for the past several years.
Yeah, people have forgotten how to bring a movie together.
Yeah, people start strong, and it's a problem of writing now where they're we know how to do character introductions and world building, and then whatever, eventually the movie will stop. And this is just it starts out with a few struggles, a little sloppiness, and a few moments where I'm I don't know if we need that. And by the end of the movie, I'm we did need that. This all works. I'm having a great time.
I'm having a great time. Yeah, I think these actors are all having fun, but not in the way where we're having fun going off the rails. Not like a Will Ferrell movie or something. But every actor is like, yeah, we're all really here. There's no green screen, but also it's not going to be an Oscar bait film. But also Neil Blomkamp is a great director and he's bringing out great stuff in people. So yeah, you're just having a nice time at the theater.
Yeah, and also I agree with you. It's been a while since there's been just a strong underdog sports movie as well.
They don't make sports movies anymore.
They don't make underdog sports movies anymore.
The last sports movie they made, I didn't see it because it was the Ben Affleck basketball one, and it seemed like it was really sad.
Oh,
and it wasn't like about basketball.
You don't put that in the fun categories
No.
of your Mighty Ducks and Big Greens, and you don't put that in the fun underdog stories.
That's just a story of a man that happens to have basketball in it, I think. That's not your Cool Runnings or...
Yeah, it's really a story about whether a man can escape the dark passenger of alcoholism through basketball, and it turns out he kind of can't.
But
so it's not really a fun romp.
No, I want to see some underdogs play a sport and then have to figure out some quirky ways to play the sport better.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
Yeah, that's a sport movie.
That's a sport movie.
Now we're a sport movie.
And this movie's kind of two sports movies, and because it's like it's racing for real, and then it's like esports simulator racing. It's kind of cool.
It's got it all. It's got everything that you need. And can it be spoiled?
I mean, this is such a weird one. It's based on a true story. So if you want to read the Wikipedia, you could spoil it, I guess. I figured what was going to happen because I'm like, I don't think they make based on true stories on fucking losers. But so I figured what was going to happen.
There were a couple of things that...
a couple surprises.
I would actually say that if you don't know and I mean like more than just like it's a guy who plays Gran Turismo and then eventually ends up racing real cars. Like that's in the trailer. But if you don't know like the Wikipedia or like the details of the true story, I would actually say it's better to go in clean because there were moments in this where I was like, I know how movies work. And then the movie was just like, but also reality. And I'm like, I don't know how that works always.
We hadn't factored in reality.
I hadn't factored in reality.
This is a real beyond belief fact or fiction kind of vibe.
So I think it can be spoiled a little.
You know what? I agree now. You've swayed me.
I've swayed you. Okay, so it's a high good. It's we like it. And it can be spoiled.
It can be spoiled a little bit.
And as well, I'll also say before we get into the full spoiler-filled section of the episode, both of us know nothing about cars.
Oh, this is very important.
This is very important to establish right off the top.
At several points in the movie, I was like, is this a real thing they do? And I don't know. It probably is.
I Googled a few things after seeing this movie.
Excellent.
So if you're a car person listening to this, please keep an open heart and a sweet soul for us, your two friends, doing this podcast.
We're doing our best.
We're doing our goddamn best. I Googled things. We're doing our goddamn best. But we're not car people.
We're not car people. We know a little bit about video games.
Yes.
Andrew does.
I'm more of the video game person.
Mm-hmm.
I've played some Gran Turismo.
I know some things about Orlando Bloom, if that's relevant to this conversation.
Diana's bringing that hot orally knowledge.
The orally shit.
She's bringing that hot orally knowledge. Do not underestimate that hot orally knowledge.
But I don't know the cars Orly drives or the sports Orly plays or any of that.
Well, so we're going to be on this journey together.
Love this for us.
So let's get into the full episode. Let's get into the spoiler-filled section. Let's talk more about Gran Turismo, based on a true story. All right, we have seen Gran Turismo. We are in the spoiler-filled section. I'm glad we both had fun on this one.
I am. I'm really glad we both had fun on this one. The vibes are good. It's a weird like for me. I feel like it's a very frustrating like, though.
Oh, tell me more.
Because I do think with some minor tweaks, this movie is a love. And that's always frustrating to me when I'm like, oh, you're so close to have gotten something quite special. Instead, you have like a good movie that I enjoyed. But I do think like just a few like tweaks and it would have been like, oh man, I feel so many emotions. I'm so proud of this kid. I've really been on a journey with him. And it just kind of misses a lot, especially in the first act, I find.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. It does tie some things in towards the end better than I anticipated that they would.
Everything ties in really well.
Yeah.
I think there is a distinct lack of like joy and passion though for a lot of this movie. Like,
oh, okay.
Like I feel like in the first act, Jan, I don't really feel like Jan wants to be a racer so much as that he doesn't want to do anything else. If that makes any sense.
Yes, I get that. And frankly, for the first half of this, for the first like act of this movie, I'm on the side of the dad.
Oh, the dad's never wrong. Jaimin is right about everything.
Jaimin is right. In every movie, Jaimin is right.
His character and the man himself.
Yes.
Always right. Always knows the assignment.
Always right. Always bringing the heat. Just a delight to see on screen. Him and Jerry.
Jerry Halliwell.
Jerry Halliwell, now Jerry Horner, is the power couple I didn't know I wanted to see. They play the kids' parents, and I'm just like, you two rock.
She is shockingly good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this movie doing, bringing out the best in Jerry Halliwell and Orlando Bloom? What is happening here?
Did not see it coming.
No one saw this coming.
Did not see it coming. Now, I think Jerry Halliwell has done like a couple of other stunt casting things where she's been surprisingly good. But
she's done the Spice Girls movie.
So obviously, that's the big role. That's the role of a lifetime.
I mean, it's actually a pretty good movie.
I agree. I'm not mad at it. It does what it intends to do. But I'm on the side of the parents in the beginning section where like the kid Jan is like a player of Gran Turismo who's like, I want to be a professional racer. And the dad's like, you need to be able to, own a car and hire a race team to do that. We don't have that kind of money. So what is your plan here? And at this point, the contest doesn't exist yet.
It doesn't exist. It's never been heard of. And Jan is just like, I'm still going to do it. And the dad isn't even non-supportive because Jaimin in Act 3 has this wonderful scene where he's like, I didn't support you enough. But I'm like, you did, because you know what you suggested to him? You suggested he take mechanical engineering so he could work in a pit crew and maybe work his way up to being a driver.
Yeah.
And that is as realistically supportive as a poor father can be.
Yes. Yeah, to be like, I can't get you in one of these cars.
They're millions of dollars.
But we could maybe pay a little of your tuition, take out a student loan. We can get you in school. Mm-hmm. We can get you in school towards working in this industry. He's not denying the industry. He's just denying how interest A leads to career C. Mm-hmm. And not knowing what B is.
Yeah, and I actually think this makes a little bit more sense for the real Jan, because I was reading his Wikipedia. The real Jan won the third year of the contest.
Yeah.
He did not win year one. So in the third year, your goal can be win the Gran Turismo Academy contest. So like that would actually have made more sense if he was like, I'm going to be the one person who wins the whole thing. And that's still kind of an unattainable goal, but it's a plan.
It's something. It exists.
Yes, it exists. But it doesn't exist in this movie. So he just really lucks out that he gets invited to play in this thing that doesn't exist. Because like the dad is wildly supportive. He thinks his other son can play professional soccer.
Right. Well, I guess when you've played professional soccer, that is more of a career option for your child.
I get it, but he's also like, he like thinks dreams can come true. But he's like, they don't come true overnight.
Right. They don't come true overnight, and they don't, they don't guarantee big money. Mm-hmm. And there are investments to dreams that you can do. That's like soccer is a thing that you can just run out into the field next door and start kicking around a ball. Mm-hmm. And having money helps, but isn't necessary, but it's necessary for cars.
Yeah. So yeah, for most of Act 1, I actually find it kind of hard to super root for Jan. Like, it doesn't feel like he loves playing video games, but it also feels like he doesn't love driving a physical car. And then he goes out to this party the night before his race to qualify. And I'm like, I don't love that. You just said you were going to practice for like 24 hours straight.
And then also at one point when he's like, it's my dream and I'm going to do it even if I have to work my way up from the bottom. And his dad's like, well, why don't you go to get a degree in mechanical engineering and work in a crew and then work your way up from there. And he's like, no. So I'm like, okay, well now I don't.
I want to instantly be in the cockpit
Yeah.
I don't want to go to school.
Yeah, so I think that's just one of those things where like they fuzzed the details enough that it's inconsistent, but not enough to make it perfect. And that's kind of where like that first act struggles a little bit. And it's always the problem of any, air quote, based on a true story, where it's like sometimes real life stories are incredible and feel like fiction, but they still need to be goosed a little to make them fiction. And sometimes goosing it fucks with the flow a little bit more than others. And that's one where it's like by the real person getting it in the third year and basing it off of that personality, but it's the first year and it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Throws it off a bit. Yeah. And don't go out. Do you like this girl more than you like your career in racing?
Your literal one chance to go do this. Like you've bought the chocolate bar with the Willy Wonka chocolate factory tour in it, and you're like, what if I don't open it though? Until it's too late, till after the tour date.
Yeah.
What if I wait until then?
Yeah,
that's not gonna work.
No. What if I don't open it and instead go meet with a girl and then drive my drunk brother home? It's like, okay, I guess those are normal things for a young person to do.
But not when your once in a lifetime chances the next day.
Yeah.
It didn't make me like, oh, he wants this so bad.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. So it wasn't like he wanted it so bad. And yeah, just running away from the cops. I'm like, it wasn't super endearing or great. Like, it wasn't like...
It wasn't endearing from a filmmaker's perspective. I get why we needed to see that he could physically drive.
That does make a lot of sense. Yeah, I can agree with that.
So it's like not great to run away from the cops. They hadn't really done anything terrible.
No.
But also he was like, if I get caught, I will miss the race tomorrow because I'll be in jail.
I'll get in more trouble. Yeah.
So I do like that they included like him driving a regular car first and that he could race.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I think there might have been better motivation
endearing.
for
Yes,
it.
it was not endearing in any way.
Yeah, and I just don't know if there's other stuff. This first act is just like, but it gets better and better. Like once we're in the Gran Turismo racing school, this movie starts moving. This will
be my other biggest complaint, and then I'm going to get into things I like.
Okay, lay it on me.
This movie, once it gets to the academy, moves way too fast right off the bat.
Oh.
This guy has been told, for me, I should say, this guy has been told, like, these cars cost millions of dollars, you can't afford it, you will never do it. And then we cut to the school, and they're all just in their cars, and they're like, woo! And I'm like, what was the moment he got in the car? What was the moment he got there? Like the big moments didn't feel celebrated.
Okay.
Like give me like literally a 1 minute slow-mo of him getting into the car for the first time and breathing deeply and taking it all in and like feeling this huge thing he's experiencing. He's getting a chance to drive $1 million car and it's going to go 200 miles an hour and let's show him freaking out about how fast it is or something. Like they really didn't like make it feel special that he'd arrived.
I see. Instead, they played it for like the montage goofs. Where
once we get to the montage,
they showed everyone's reaction of like that first ignition, that first starting line jump, and like hitting it in the face. And it's like that's fun, but I agree it didn't focus enough on him and his experience.
Yeah, like I feel like he should have teared up when he saw his name on the car. Like that's huge. I teared up when I saw my name on like a cubicle when I got my first job. I can't imagine it on a fucking racing car.
On the helmet or whatever, like just like, whoa, holy shit, this is happening.
So I feel like this movie really failed in celebrating like that he did it.
Right.
Until the very, very end, and then they like fucking celebrate the shit out of it. They really do build it to Act 3, but I would like to have, if I felt it more in Act 1, then the fall in Act 2 when he kills the person would have felt bigger, and then the rise up feels good too. I
do think that there are moments of this script where it felt like it was designed to be a mini series. Like it was, because it feels like there's a couple movies happening. There is the like I'm trying to get into the GT Academy movie, the I'm in GT Academy, and then the actual race thing. And I know that those are 3 acts, but somehow they feel self-contained. And just like there are moments of this where I'm like, I don't know if this was originally meant to be a mini series or something like that, because like it feels a little bit like each one is its own self-contained kind of story.
Yeah, it's 3 acts that are almost too perfectly like acted out, structured out. Like Act 1 is the academy. Act 2 is his career until the accident where he accidentally kills someone. Act 3 is him finally winning.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh wow, that is perfectly structured to the point where they all don't segue perfectly. But I agree that the montage, like is fun. I wanted bigger moments and to feel more. But yeah, once they're racing and David Harbour's yelling at them and they're puking and they're getting kicked out and Orlando Bloom's like, here's a hat. One guy who got the boots.
Terrific.
It was all real. Oh my
And
God.
a shirt. A hat and a shirt.
A hat and a shirt. He flew him out to a different country. No, I went to the Gran Turismo Academy and all I got was this shirt.
Was this shirt, yeah.
Quite literally.
And a hat.
And a hat.
And it has an arrow in the shirt pointing up to the hat. Is how it should be.
It's a whole outfit.
It should be a whole outfit that's
you have
designed
to wear them
go
together.
I absolutely agree with that. But also, too, I think just like the directorial style of this movie that like Neil Blomkamp does a great job of filming all of the racing scenes and of all the cars. It's frenetic, it's chaotic, but also a really good job of integrating some of these video. And at some point, it's too much of the video game element. But there is a really good job done here of like, why don't we use the video game elements, which are, video game has a great user interface, a great way of visually telling you who's in what place with these little indicators and markers. Let's integrate that into the storytelling, because one thing that is tough about racing or, any sports movie, if you don't know that sport, is keeping track of what the fuck is happening. But video game layout and design is always designed to make sure that you know what the fuck is happening at all times. So some of that integration is brilliant with like these great chase scenes, incredible intensity, and then these brilliant visuals that use the video game elements to assist the storytelling and move the storytelling above and beyond.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Because as we said in the opening, we don't know anything about car racing. So for the movie to be like, this is Jan, he's in 6th place, and it's got a video game marker on him. And also just like design-wise, this actually might be what the actual cars looked like. Thank you for making all the main cars look wildly different and specific. Like bad guy's gold, other bad guy's rainbow, our guy's pure white. I'm like, excellent. Yeah. I always know which one he is. And then the little marker's like, he's in 5th place. I'm like, excellent. So easy. The lines on the track, I like subtle but realistic integrations.
Yes. And that's also like a thing from the video game to help train you on the track and shit like that. So yeah, subtle but real, easy to interpret. And then also even just like the way they tell us, like, here are the lines in racing. Here's what people race. And I'm like, yeah, that's a thing that makes sense. And him setting up early to be like, I'm going to deviate from that. Just really clean and efficient storytelling from some of this stuff.
Really clean and efficient, and just like simple things that set up tension well, which is like, he's like, I deviate from the line sometimes. And it doesn't always work even in the game. I don't think I'm that good. I don't think I'm smarter than the game. But he's like, sometimes the lines aren't right.
Yes.
So like at the end when he does go off the lines, we're like, he is taking a risk. Even in the game, this doesn't always work.
Yeah.
So like it's really nice. Like, yeah, everything they set up in Act 1 and 2 pays off in 3 in a wildly satisfying way.
Yes.
Literally everything.
Yeah. Like if what he was doing was statistically the most reliable thing, it would be the line. But it's not. But that doesn't mean it's zero. It works 0% of the time. It just means that it's not statistically as reliable as the line and what you're intended to go in. And also even just setting up that like his father is a professional, was a professional footballer as well, to be like, he has athletic genes.
Yeah,
like
that's a great point. Because they're athletes.
I think that's the idea of why he adapted to the athletic training quicker than others, is that he is from a family of athletes, of literal professional athletes. So he is more capable genetically and just life fitness to be ready to go into that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think a little bit too much was when the car would fully build around him.
You know
that
what?
That was all once.
Once. Can we agree on once? We agree on one.
You get one car that builds around you.
Because for me, I was like, that's the trailer shot. That's something that's super cool for 3 seconds out of a 1 minute trailer, 2 minute trailer. And you don't need to do it. When they went back to it, I think 3 times, I was like,
yeah,
you get one.
I'm like, this isn't Tron. Like, there's a real car here. This isn't the Matrix and we're just going to build whatever we want. I'm like, you're in a real car. You can imagine a little line on the ground, but you don't need to imagine a car anymore.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when sometimes it was a downgrade. Because like when he was in his room playing, and in his mind, I can't remember if it was his room or the arcade, and in his mind, the car forms around him. and he can see the track and he can actually feel the car. And it's meant to be this like moment of like, this is what it's like to him. Like he sees this, he feels this, he experiences this. This is why he's going to be the guy. It's because it's not a game. It's because he's projecting himself there. And then later when he's there and he projects himself back to a bedroom, I was like, no, I thought the meaning of this before was that it's not a game. You see yourself on the racetrack and now you're seeing yourself in a bedroom. And that actually doesn't feel like the right way to do this car former, the car deconstruction.
The car deconstruction I didn't need. I obviously though really like that's the moment where he's like, I need to be both things.
Yeah.
Because like this movie very much was Act 1 is video game. Act 2 is just driving. Because the whole time he's driving, he's not using anything he learned in the game. He's like, I have fast reflexes and I know how to drive. But like it's not until that moment in Act 3 where he's like, I need to be both.
Yeah.
I need to be a video game driver and a real life driver. So I actually do like that they flashed back in it. I just thought the car dematerializing was kind of dumb at that point. Like, if you want to do a little flashback to being in your room and being like, oh shit, why did I do all that for? If not to learn skills that these guys don't have.
That's cool. That's cool. That's a cool observation, but I agree visually it was too much.
It was too much. You were like, come on, you're in $1 million car. I don't want you to be like, if only I was in my room.
Yeah.
I'm living my dream.
Get out of here. You only get one of these. It's the movie trailer moment, and then we just move on from it. Because the rest of it is just really well-filmed racing, and that's kind of where the excitement is.
It's really well-filmed racing. Let me ask you this, because this I found weird. The racing was so easy to watch. It was so clear. It was exciting. They did such a good job. And then some of the just people talking would be the shakiest shaky cam I've ever seen.
Oh.
And it was upsetting.
It didn't bother me.
Okay, it wasn't frequent. I think it was maybe during like very emotional scenes. Like I think the shakiest was when David Harbour almost punched the bad guy from Wheel of Time, the kid. I was like, whoa, this camera is like, did you hit the cameraman? Was a feeling I got. So I was like, oh man, I'm so glad the driving is not shaky.
Sure.
Because like I was a little worried because they shaky cammed a little early and I was like, oh no, it's going to be so hard to watch. It's going to be the Bourne Identity for 2 hours. Like that one car scene I can't watch.
Yeah. No, I get that concern. I didn't notice it and wasn't bothered by it, but I see what you're saying. There are definitely a few moments where it felt frenetic to me, and I think that was the intention, but it didn't feel shaky enough that it bothered me.
It wasn't an overall bother, but it was like a concern for like 25 minutes. I'm like, oh, I saw it shake once.
Yeah.
He's gonna shake me up.
You're tense.
He's gonna shake me up.
Shake me up inside. Can't shake up.
I can't shake up.
No, of course.
I don't want to feel sick. It's an AVX screen. It's so big. It's gonna make me feel nauseous.
Yeah.
But it didn't. So it's like actually a compliment. The racing was very easy to watch.
Yeah, the racing was very easy to watch. It was very well filmed. Even some of the the sillier digital elements, like shots of like inside pistons randomly and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, it's a little the Fast and the Furious one, but whatever.
But you know what you're inspired by.
We're having fun here.
We're having fun here.
And even like stuff where the movie winks and nudges at itself. Even like David Harbour's character of Jack, when he's just like, I would never get in a helicopter to watch these things. And Orlando Bloom's Danny just having to be like, yeah, but it looks cool, and this is all for marketing, so that's what we're doing.
So get in the helicopter.
So get in the helicopter, because it looks cool when we show it to people. And I'm like, it does. It does look really fucking cool.
It looks cool that there's a helicopter there.
Yeah.
And the above shots look cool. And then I even think David Harbour made his character kind of be like, oh, actually, I can see stuff up here.
He made the best of it in that moment.
He did, but it almost felt like he was like, oh, I can see how straight they're driving.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he and that was probably my favorite comedic moment. Those two played off each other surprisingly well. This was a shock as a genuine Orlando Bloom fan to find out he can act.
Because you're a big Orly head.
I'm a big Orly head, and this was probably the first time I've come into a movie starring Orlando Bloom with pure intentions. Because every other time I've watched a movie with Orlando Bloom, I've been like, cute boy, don't care if he can act. And he hasn't been able to. In many, many movies I've seen him in. So to turn this movie on and be like, okay, Orlando's in his like late 40s now, and he's like, I'm just gonna probably act. And I was like, oh shit, he's just acting.
He's acting here.
He's good.
Yeah. He does a good character to the point where this is the first time in my life where like I've not been a fan of Orlando Bloom. And anytime
As you should not be.
and anytime I've seen him in something, my thought is, oh hey, there's Orlando Bloom.
Not
I
the
forgot
character.
this was Orlando Bloom at a certain point.
Also, I was like, that's Danny.
Yeah.
And he really wants this experiment to work.
And he embodied this, like, I've met executive marketing types, and I'm like, you embody it, you're walking different. I think you've made slight changes to your accent. We've discussed this a little bit off mic, but I think he went like more proper Londoner with his accent, and I'm like, this really works for this character.
Now, I argued that I think this is his real accent because it's the best acting he's ever done.
Maybe.
And I think he's been more put upon accent-wise as like an elf. And but yeah, it's pretty close to his real voice if it's not exactly it. But yeah, felt like a real man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be fair,
I was like, that's Danny. That's Danny.
I'm also not sure if Orlando gets to play real guys ever. I'm like, what has he played? Like Legolas, Pirates of the Caribbean, Troy, like really elevated
Sure.
things. And I'm like, oh, you've just been a real guy this whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, Kingdom of Heaven, like he played like a king.
Sure. Yeah, but he plays this so well.
I'm so happy for him.
And
it makes him feel really good about having been an Orlando Bloom fan this whole time.
he can do it. He's good in this. He's just he's flat out good in this. I was floored.
Way to go, Orly.
Way to go, Orly.
And David Harbour's as good as he always is.
He's as good as this is perfect casting for him as a like somewhat incredulous, initially disapproving, but turns out just protecting father figure. It's yeah, David Harbour's the perfect guy for that. I think he gets to do a little bit more and actually show a bit more range in this than I've seen from his other stuff, which is wild for just like a small character piece. I'm like, I get you, and this works. Like when he's giving the speech to Jan, like at the racetrack, of being like, I failed, I don't think you're that guy. And it was just such a like, first of all, it was a refreshing writing of that piece because it felt a little bit different than to be like, don't make the mistakes I made. It felt just like, no, you're a different guy than me. I actually don't regret what I've done with my life, but I feel like you're someone who would, so let's make sure you don't have that. And like, it was just a small tweak, and he played it properly. He didn't play it like the scene's usually written. He played it like it was, and just does a great job.
He does do a great job. I agree that was a very refreshing take on an inspirational speech, because I find some inspirational speeches can make you as a person feel really bad if you've ever quit something.
Yeah.
If you've ever given up on a dream or a hobby or a skill, and then you see a speech that's like, no, if you really loved it, you would dedicate your whole life to it, and you got to get behind the wheel again. He's like, I didn't get behind the wheel again. And there's literally no shame in walking away if this is going to haunt you and you don't want to do it anymore. But I think you do. So then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks. If I accidentally killed a person doing something, I probably also wouldn't want to do it, and that would be genuinely fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when he says when he says there's no shame in this, he sincerely means it.
Yes, he's being mean, but honest.
He's being mean, but he's never negging.
Oh!
Is the other thing where he's just like, you're gonna puke and you're gonna run so hard you puke. That's a thing that you'll do because you suck at running right now. But also, if you just can't handle that, you can go do other things in life, and that doesn't make you a lesser human.
This won't define you.
Yeah, but if you do need this to define you, you will need to run until you puke. Where I'm like, you're honest, but you're never being shitty, and you're never projecting your own insecurities, which is another thing that happens a lot in these sports movies.
The mentor is like telling his story through the kid.
Where it's like, and then I quit, and I never should have. I was a coward and a failure, and now as an old man, I need you to do this because I need to live through you, is the subtext of a lot of these things. And this didn't feel like that at all.
No, it didn't. And yeah, and David Harbour just so good at the comedy and like the emotional connection parts.
Yeah.
Really just thriving in this movie.
Yes, absolutely. And also Archie Madekwe does a phenomenal job of Jan.
He is very fun. I feel like the passion is not there till the end. Like, I wish that there was more passion and more joy from him in the first two acts. By the third act, and I almost feel like maybe it was purposeful, because by the third act, he does really do it, to the point where I'm wondering if Neil Blomkamp was like, save it for the third act.
Ooh, yeah. Make sure you have somewhere to go.
Yeah, so I think it actually might have even been purposeful, but yeah, I really did want to feel more in the first couple acts, but he eventually like gets there and I'm like, I love Jan. I'm rooting for him so hard. I like, oh man, when he finds out someone died and he just starts crying in the hospital room, I'm like, this
really
performance
does it.
is phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think some of that might just be like, you know, he's a younger actor. Like, he's not a kid, but he's in his early 20s, I think, or like mid 20s. And it's someone where it's just like, you're a great actor and you need to go from 1 to 10 in this movie. And it's like, you know, a generational actor or someone who's, you know, been doing this for decades will be like, okay, I can start at a 10 and my scale actually goes up to fucking 20. But when you're, you know, a young 20-something actor and it's just like, okay, I actually might need to start at 4. I can get to 10, and that's incredible, but I actually do need to start at 4 in order to get there, and I'm sorry, but I do need to start at 4. And that's just kind of fine. That's
absolutely fine.
That's still a remarkable and incredible performance for a younger actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really. Yeah. Just a weird performance note. Not even performance, but casting note. The guy who played Gran Turismo did not play the man who made Gran Turismo in this movie.
I love you calling him Gran Turismo.
I assume his name is Mr. Gran Turismo. Kaz. I'm sorry. So yeah, the Kaz in real life did not play himself, even though his character only has one line. And I was like, I feel like you could have just played yourself. And then, but you are there playing a sushi chef.
Yeah. So you can act enough to wear a costume and look.
You were on set.
Yeah, there might be a union thing. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows? I do love that the actual Jan was the driver stunt double for the actor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so great. To get to be part of telling your own story is really cool.
That is really, really cool.
That is like, because like this guy's already lived his dream like 3 different ways. Like, I'm a great video game player. I got to be a real professional race car driver. And now I get to be a race car driver in a movie telling my own life story. Like, that's like a third life dream.
And I'm a professional stunt person and stunt driver now as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that if racing isn't working out.
Yeah. Just wild stuff.
Yeah, you'll see me in Fast X2 or whatever. I don't know what, probably Fast 11.
Yeah, probably.
You know what?
Probably Fast 11.
11.
Yeah, or X2, whatever they call it. But yeah, a really cool story for him. Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more with that.
Really cool. Now, here I will say, I believe the first 30 seconds to a minute of this movie made me so worried that this movie was fucking awful. Because the movie opens up and it's like, Gran Turismo was a video game that we made. Like, PlayStation made the first 30 seconds to a minute of this movie, right? Like,
I mean, they made all of the movie. Let's be real.
Fair,
this movie is a big ad for the video game series Gran Turismo.
No, I think Neil Blomkamp made most of the movie.
Okay.
I think Sony PlayStation made the first minute of the movie.
Okay, fair.
Because the first minute of the movie is like, let's tell you about this awesome video game we made. It's called Gran Turismo. And we took all the real cars, and we took all the real sounds, and we went to the tracks, and we did this. And I'm like, okay. And then literally 3 minutes later, Orlando Bloom gives a presentation and says the exact same thing to the presenters. And I'm like, did we need that weird opening ad for PlayStation at the beginning?
Well, it's an ad for PlayStation, and also in a way, it almost feels like that was like. It almost feels like at some point there was a script where this was the life story of Kaz, the man who created it.
Ooh.
Where this is about, and even like how the movie closes, or like the conversation at the signing, where when Jan is signing with Nissan, where it is Kaz, or I think like one of the executives from that team being like, our idea was to make a simulation. I've seen my dreams become reality today. And I'm like, and there was a moment there where I'm like, is this movie about Kaz?
Or was it supposed to be like a dual story about both of them?
About both of them seeing their dreams become reality, of like one person wanting to create something that inspires others and another person being inspired and accomplishing it.
Oh man, yeah, what a dual story of like accomplishment that is.
Yeah,
that actually would have been interesting.
So there were moments
and like
there.
real different like backgrounds that come together to make 2 big dreams come true. That would be a really cool story.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was interesting. And also seeing the opening credits, I actually have to backtrack or maybe walk back a thing we might have said on the Uncharted episode of the podcast. seeing the PlayStation Studios logo like show up at the beginning of the movie when it's like, we're PlayStation Studios. Look at all the things we own. We make movies now. And I remember seeing that at the beginning of Uncharted, and we literally laughed out loud. And we were like, how many movies is PlayStation gonna make? And when it came up for this one, because they act like they're Marvel and like all their iconic characters go past or whatever. And like it happens in this one, and I started laughing, and then I saw Nathan Drake, and I was like, oh, you did make an Uncharted movie for, whatever mixed bag it was. You did it. And then like Last of Us comes up, and I'm like, that show did fucking slap.
That show ruled.
And then Gran Turismo comes up, and I'm like, PlayStation Studios, are you doing it? Am I going to see like a Little Big Planet movie? And we getting God of War? Like, you really doing this, my dog?
That's kind of the thing, because this movie was pretty good, and Uncharted was not great. It was not terrible, but it was fine. But yeah, when all of them go by, I'm like, I don't even play these games, but I've watched you play them, and I'm like, I know pretty much all of these would make fucking great movies.
Yeah.
Like God of War would absolutely slap. I think it's actually in development.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Last of Us, as you said, was so good. So yeah, I think Clank and Ratchet would be a fun like kids movie.
Yeah, I think they showed like Jack and Daxter, and I'm like, no one knows Jack and Daxter, but you put it in your opening shit. All right, my dudes.
Yeah, are these like hints of what you're gonna make next?
Yeah, but good on you, PlayStation. You're staying true to doing the thing.
I will also say good on you, PlayStation. I will give no apologies to Uncharted.
You know what? That's true. That's true. But I laughed before the movie began, and that might be on me.
We didn't see it yet.
I will also say even kudos to the meta, or I don't even know if it's necessarily an intended meta conversation that this film has, but the whole character of Danny, played by Orlando Bloom, just being like, yeah, my goal is to figure out how can we make the coolest ever commercial for Gran Turismo and Nissan. And he did it twice.
Oh, man. Everyone's living their dream multiple times in this movie.
This is an Ouroboros of like, this movie is someone creating the coolest commercial for Gran Turismo and Nissan, and then based on a true story about the coolest commercial for Gran Turismo and Nissan. It is a snake eating its own tail.
Yeah, it is a dream within a dream. It is an inception of life achievements happening right here. He's like, yes, I did it. I made a player into a real life race car driver, and we sold a lot of Nissan cars, or Nissan, however Orlando wants to say it. And then he's like, and then I sold the rights to the movie, and we did it again. And you're like, fuck, man.
Love it.
Danny's doing absolutely great.
Doing everything. And I just think like the basic structure of this movie works really well also. It's just like, I really like David Harbour's character like working for the villains team off the top and being like, they're rich and hoity-toity and pretentious, so I quit. And be like, that's a great way to like make them the villain right away. It ties it all in. I also really like once it gets to the 24-hour race, which, holy shit, I didn't know that was a thing that happened.
That feels like a different sport, right?
It does feel like a different sport.
It feels like a wildly different sport. Like if I suddenly turned on like Olympic basketball and they were like, oh, the Raptors are going to play for 24 hours. I'd be like, what are you talking about? It's usually 3.
Yeah.
It's usually like 2 to 3 hours. They're like, no, it's 24 hours this week.
Yeah. Yeah. This week it's rollerball. And you're like, what? You can't just make it rollerball this week.
But they act like it's the same sport. And I guess it is if you're switching out the drivers. And
but like, come on.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you should be endurance racing the things that crash.
Yeah.
Like if you're endurance running for 24 hours and you're just going to get tired and fall down is like the max thing that could happen. But these guys get sleepy and they die.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the sport?
That's the danger. That's the jeopardy.
So I didn't know that was real, and I kind of it was super cool, and I liked having the other drivers come back for that as well.
I did like that. Yeah, that's cool. That is how the actual story ended up. That like the 3 sim drivers, which actually makes it make more sense that he was the 3rd graduate,
right?
Because these were the other 2 graduates in real life. They had enough people to make a team now. It wasn't just the 2 losers who didn't make it as far as him, and they were like, they'll be great.
Yeah.
Like, where have they been racing?
Like, where have they? Well, Danny had a brush away line and be like, they've been racing in the junior leagues or whatever the fuck the racing equivalent of the junior,
the G League,
the G League,
the NBA.
Yeah.
We know one sport, guys.
Yeah. So
It all equates to basketball.
You gotta let us have metaphors where we need them to survive, and in this scenario, that's one of them. So yeah, they've been racing in the minors, but I love that they came up. I like that. Like, I always love it in a movie when like someone who was the jerk ends up just being like chill and cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm a sucker for that.
I love that. Yeah. The guy from like the academy is like, no, you earned it. Let's all be a team. Like, we'll win together, which is good for him too, because it's a team sport in this one.
Yeah.
It's weird that that villain guy never shakes his hand or anything. Villain guy just loses and goes, "Huh," and walks away. I was like, oh, he never earned your respect, I guess.
Yeah.
Sucks to be that real life guy portrayed in this way. If there was a real life guy who you beefed with,
Yeah.
I don't know if that actually happened.
Yeah. That was one thing that I did wonder about some of the sponsors of this movie and stuff like that, where it's like, obviously our hero is Team Nissan, and then it'll show other teams and be like, and this dickhead's Team Porsche. Fuck this guy. Fuck Team Porsche. And I'm like, Porsche was cool with this? Or whatever the other team might be, you know? Like, it's just like, huh.
Well, like, the main bad guy was, like, Kappa or something, which I've never heard of, so I think is maybe fake, I would hope.
Okay, yeah.
Is kind of my thought process, but everything seemed really real. That would be a weird thing, I would say, that, like, I think they didn't want to say, obviously, because Nissan, like, paid for probably a lot of this movie, that Nissan's cars kind of suck. But it kind of felt that way because, like, in Act 1, the big thing that Jan does is, like, he loves in the game that you can make all, like, the changes to your car. You can customize it. He's like, before I drive, I, like, customize everything. At no point during the real life racing is he like, I've got customization ideas, or I think this car is going to win, or I think this is the car I would pick if I was playing the game.
Right.
It really is just like, this is the car Nissan gave me, so like I got to make the best of it. And we're not going to talk about how it's good or bad. It's just a car.
I mean, it showed that they did use it to show that he knew what brake glazing felt like.
Okay.
So like he knew what it was like when you needed to like change the brakes of the vehicle and how it should respond due to the details and the response and attention to detail of the game.
Oh, yes, but I thought that was like a game detail and not like a Nissan-specific car detail.
I agree with that, yes.
It wasn't like Nissan's cars brakes always glaze.
They always, yeah.
In the game,
that would look bad, actually. Yeah. That would quite look bad on Nissan, yeah.
At no point did the game equate to how Nissan cars work.
Yes, that's true.
So I didn't get the impression their cars were very good, especially as I was reading Jan's wiki, and a few of the races he didn't finish was because the cars crapped out.
Okay.
His wiki's full of fun information.
You take the money where you can get it. If you're Team Nissan,
Jan?
you're Team Nissan for life, you know?
I ain't mad at Jan.
They're like the Jets. Sometimes the brakes glaze, a thing that I only recently Googled. So, sometimes you get brake glazing, and you got to look out for that. And you got to know what it feels like
now
if you're
I
Jan.
know to look out for the brakes glazing.
Glazing, yeah.
Other things that were nice, like we said, the third act of this really works. You like that the guys come back. I love seeding in all this stuff about music and then using the music to break him out of his head.
Real nice stuff.
Really nice. Like, this is the kind of thing movies like just miss, and it's so easy and simple to seed in. And it's also just nice character stuff. Like, I love that Jan likes Kenny G and Enya, and David Harbour likes Metallica. And they both like music, but they're both wildly different in their musical tastes.
Yeah.
It's this really nice like bonding moment, but not quite bonding of we have to play music we hate for each other.
Yeah.
We have to play Kenny G over the radio to get you out of your head and back into the race.
Love it.
It all just came together so nicely. This is one of the best third acts I've seen in forever.
Yes, and also too, like, it's just they did a really good job of setting it up in a way that felt realistic as well, to be like with a 24-hour race. And I guess this is all based on a true story, and who knows what liberties they took or what place they were actually in after which lap and yada yada yada. But it's like there's enough time to come back without being magical.
Yes,
as well.
You slowly have to just like throughout the 3-hour lap. Just
Yeah, and then like occasionally losing a position and then gaining it again and be like, he's been in 9th place for like 3 laps and that's not great. Like just shit like that where I'm like, it's messy and real, but I was on edge this whole thing not knowing this. I love watching a based on a true story and not knowing the story.
The other thing I loved, and I assume this is like part of the based on the true story is that we established that like these two jerks will like kind of nudge you and like make you crash a little or will crash themselves because they're being like unsafe. When Jan crashes, it is so out of nowhere. Like no one's bumped him.
Yeah.
Like it really is just he went over a hill, there was too much wind and he flipped.
Yeah.
And it just hits you so suddenly as it hit Jan, I think, which is so purposeful and so well done because like no one was crowding him. He wasn't worried about being hit. So me as a viewer wasn't worried about him crashing in this moment. He didn't think he was going too fast. David Harbour didn't give him any warnings.
Yeah.
So when he just all of a sudden in the blink of an eye has crashed as fast as you would crash in a real race, it was so exciting but like terrifying. It was so well done. It was probably one of my favorite sequences of the movie.
And also, it was him doing even though, like, you know, the movie kind of removes fault from him in a few different regards to be like, well, the wind picked up and it was this and that. And I think that those are very reasonable places to go with that story. You know, it's tough when it's based on a real life thing where a person did unfortunately fatally pass away. And, you know, you never want to be disrespectful, and how much this is true to that, I'm not certain. But it's him doing the same thing that the jerk driver did in his crash in the qualifying, which was the jerk driver passed him and went unnecessarily fast in a straightaway before the next turn and couldn't handle it and lost it. So literally it was also like a check for him to be like, he has now become as competitive as the person he kind of viewed as the jerk. Because that guy, like, all of these cars are capable of going incredibly fast at a moment's notice. The other guy was choosing not to go that fast because there was still a level of awareness that this is not the responsible alleyway to go that speed.
Yeah, if there's a hill, you could just flip.
Yes. So it might have been already at a borderline dangerous speed to pass that, plus the wind and everything else that happened, you know. So that's not to necessarily put blame on the real life Jan or anything like that, obviously, because I don't know the details of that story, but I think the movie kind of parallels it with what the jerk driver experienced. I forget the name of that driver, but like
I just call him Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time driver.
He's the main character from the show
Wheel Driver of Time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it is now.
Wheel Man of Time. Wheel Man of Time. There we go. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, I think that paralleled that a little bit as well. And I did not expect having to live with the consequences of a fatality in this story. I did not know that or expect it in any way.
I didn't either, but it really they'd warned us though. Like David Harbour's very first speech was like, you could die and you could kill someone else. Like at no point does he make it seem like racing is easy. And I feel like the people who played the game didn't take him all that seriously, and also we as the audience didn't take David Harbour all that seriously about it. Yeah. And then someone died, and it was we were there with Jan the whole time. Yes. Yeah. It does feel like some of this movie is just kind of a series of legal waivers from corporations. Because they do make a point, like in David Harbour's case, it does kind of make sense as a character for him to be like, people can die. And I'm like, this makes sense in your speech. But like Danny introducing the concept to Nissan and Nissan being like, we'll only do it if it's safe. No one dies. And if anyone dies, it's not our fault. And we have to make sure it's safe. And legally, we have said to you today, and this based on a true story, that we will only do it if it's safe. And if anyone dies, we are not liable. Because we did all the safe stuff. We have all, and then Danny's like, yes, of course, we all feel the same way. And we agree that Nissan's not liable. And there were several other conversations of different heads of companies being like, just to be clear, when anything goes wrong, we're not liable, is a thing we've said to you in this story. So it does feel like there's a series of legal waivers that do happen throughout this movie. Yeah, there's a real subconscious effect on me being like, Nissan is never liable. They did all the right things. Nissan's done nothing wrong. They helped a young man live out his dreams. Yeah. And then God himself struck him down. It feels like watching The Last Dance and Michael Jordan being like, I gambled a little. And we're like, okay, Michael, okay. you might have had final say on how this portrayed you, my guy. This is like when I watch Space Jam and he doesn't gamble at all. Doesn't gamble at all on that one. He's not liable in Space Jam. Well, that one's based on a true story. Yeah, you played basketball and baseball, and then he's Space Jam. In some ways, that is based on a true story. Space Jam is other than the Looney Tunes shit, it's based on a true story.
I mean, even then, we don't know for sure.
We don't know. He could have gone to Looney Tunes.
He could have fought the monsters.
Bill Murray might have gone with him.
Yeah, he could.
Bill Murray does disappear for long stretches of time in real life.
So nobody knows what's going on. It could be a Monstar-related issue. But back to Gran Turismo. I love this. I love this final 24-hour race. It's just all filmed so well. I was on the edge of my seat for so much of this.
It was filmed so well. I think my final big positive, and I can't believe we skipped over it when we were talking about great performances, in the last act when the dad, Jaimin Hansu, comes back.
Yes.
Holy shit, there were so many tears on his face. For a movie that isn't Oscar baity, and I didn't feel like he was trying too hard to emote, just him telling his son, I didn't support you enough, and bawling his eyes out, this was an incredible scene.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
And a well-written scene, too, where, it just felt like a dad.
Yeah, it felt like a real dad.
When he has the line of him crying and being like, I didn't support you enough, and it's like, I love you, I didn't support you enough. And then when he just, breaks, he's having this moment of emotional vulnerability, and a real dad of a certain generation feels the need to backtrack it, and it's like, but I really don't understand that shit game.
Yeah.
I don't understand that crap. Mm-hmm. And him calling it crap, the game that I'm I really kind of would have expected this movie for him to be I understand the beauty of the game now, if they were trying to oversell it. But I'm I actually really like that the writing was just the dad was I still don't understand this shit. The game sucks and I hate it, but it worked great and I'm proud of you.
But you were right that it could do this for you.
Yeah, but a dad having to cut the tension and tell a joke and then still be a little bit mean towards something while being vulnerable feels very relatable and very dad shit.
Very dad shit. But yeah, seeing him break down, and then he says the joke, and then he sees the sticker on the helmet and breaks down again, which almost never happens because usually the joke has to be the last thing. So I like that the scene ended on a second vulnerability, and we have patched things up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
A lovely story is being told.
My final positive for this movie that I want to lay down, which is another thing that's been sorely lacking in a bunch of movies and television shows and things for a while that we've often brought up. The sound mixing on this fucking rules. It rules. Not only is it good, clean dialogue that is for the past, we've been saying it since we started this podcast, that sound mixing and sound design is a lost art form and all dialogue is fucking trampled because sound mixers now are just trying to show off every sound effect and bedding and Foley and piece of work that's possible. Everything other than the acting is what was trying to be shown off. In this one, there is a dialogue boost on everyone's voice. No one has sounded cooler. Every single one of these people. I'm David Harbour already sounds like a cool dude, but I'm you are crystal fucking clear. Mm-hmm. You are at any given time 30 decibels above every other sound effect that's happening, including racing. And at no point does the racing feel weak. It feels like David Harbour has an actual racing headset microphone, and that mic is in his fucking skull, and he is coming through loud and clear. It is perfect sound mixing. It is unbelievably good sounding.
It is wonderful. Yes, this could be a movie where you could hear nothing except cars going by, but it is not that. You hear every line of dialogue, which is crazy because about half the movie is over headsets.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have seen Tenet. If you haven't...
or if you've listened to our episode on Tenet.
If you haven't, I wish I was you because I've seen Tenet. And there's one scene where it's over radio headsets and it's inaudible.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie was so loud I had to cover my ears. This movie... Everything is crystal clear, but it's loud. But I'm not oh, it's loud.
Yeah.
It's just you feel like you're there at a good, safe volume. This really does speak highly to PlayStation Studios, I would say. Because at the end of the movie, they even show the Gran Turismo video game people recording the sounds of the cars.
Which is something that that studio is famous for. On top of their attention to detail for simulation, their sound design and engineering, they got the sound of every fucking vehicle. They recorded it. They got the attention to detail is phenomenal. And it's in this movie. And when I say that I'm so happy to hear dialogue as well, The racing also sounds incredible. I
Sounds really
feel like
good.
I'm at the fucking racetrack. The racetrack sounds incredible. And all of the actors can act because their dialogue is just incredibly crisp and wildly powerful. This is a flawless, and I mean truly flawless, 10 out of 10, no notes. If we were judging this just on audio quality alone, this is the movie of the decade. Perfect sound design.
Yeah, perfect sound design. I will also even give credit to the director, because he must have been like, no mumbly performances.
Yeah.
You're all enunciating. We got the sound guy here. We're going to hear you. Because no one gives like a quiet performance that just has been like jacked up loud enough that we could hear. They're all talking at a good level.
Yep.
Thank you, every actor in this movie.
Thank you, everyone in this movie, for speaking with clear, strong diction.
You have come to your uncle's house for vengeance.
That is a reference to a James Adomian bit about Kenneth Branagh. And I'm feeling good about Gran Turismo. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I've got like 2 more things to say, but they go into my change, so we're good. We're good.
Hold on to them, baby.
Keep them close to my chest until my change.
Let's go in for the change. We'll ask the final question of what would you change. So now that we've discussed everything, what would you change about this movie if you could change anything? Before we do ask that final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us move up the charts. It helps us find new listeners, and it encourages new listeners to actually hit download and check out the show.
Yeah, people see new reviews and they're like, oh, this podcast is hip and happening and nice. Say nice things about us. It would make us feel so good, and it helps listeners be like, I will check this out. And then you'll be like, I've been listening to them forever. I think they're great. I was in the ground floor.
Bing, bang, boom.
You could be on the ground floor.
You can be right in there. And as well, if you do want to support the podcast monetarily, you can do that over on Patreon, which is a monthly subscription service where you can subscribe at whatever is in your budget, and you'll get cool bonuses for doing so, no matter what the level. Even at the $1 level, you get our webcomic, Texts from Superheroes, a day early. At the $3 level, you now get these episodes early and ad-free, which is particularly great when there is a new movie or TV show, because often we are releasing these on Thursday to the patrons. So if you want to hear the spoiler-free review, if you want to kind of figure out if you're going to go check out something opening weekend, if you want to get in quick, that's a great way to do it. It's the $3 level on Patreon. And at the $10 hero level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month.
Every single month. This month we did Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, when we were doing Ninja Turtles a little earlier in August. Had a lot of fun doing that. And just a note for any maybe possible future patrons or current patrons, you can now get our Patreon feed on Spotify. You just have to link your Patreon account to Spotify, and you can just listen to them right there, easy peasy.
So if you're a Spotify listener, Spotify has made this super easy to link
There's
those
a little
up.
banner on our podcast right now.
Yeah, so that's always been my thing with like the people I support on Patreon when it comes to podcasts, where it's like it's one extra feed that I kind of need to go to or like go out of my way, because I do listen to a lot of stuff on Spotify. But this integrates it all, makes it super smooth and easy.
They made it really easy. I think Patreon and Spotify really crushed it on this one.
Yeah, if that's your thing, if you're not a Spotify user, you don't need to have Spotify or use that feature. You can still use the RSS feed, use the Patreon page, whatever you want to do. So check us out over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And thank you to all of our current and future patrons.
Thank you so much, patrons.
And now let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question. Diana, what would you change?
A few like little changes. I think this movie's maybe just slightly too long. I would completely cut the girlfriend. Didn't need her. Absolutely didn't need her. No offense, Audrey. You seemed lovely. There was a real split between Jan's time between his girlfriend and his family. And the family disappears for the middle of this movie and is replaced with the girlfriend. So I definitely was way more interested in his relationship with his mom, his relationship with his dad. Like, we don't even see them while he's like started his racing career. They're completely removed from the story. I'm like, are they proud of him? Are they upset that he's doing this? Do they think he's going to get hurt? They're just not around. So I would definitely completely remove the girlfriend, get a bit more family. I do want some more joy from Jan earlier about what he's accomplished so that it can kind of get wiped away when the accident happens. So just a little bit more joy. And then the biggest thing I want, and this is my change that is just for me, because I think it would have been so fun and it would have made the whole movie, I really, really wanted a scene where David Harbour plays the game.
Okay.
Because David Harbour is training Jan on how to be a race car driver. And he's like, I haven't been behind a wheel since I had the accident. But Jan is like, the simulator is racing. It absolutely is. And I really wanted this like exchange of generations where David Harbour like plays the game and he's like, oh shit, it is like racing. And like really likes it. And also it would have been a great promotion for the game. Like they would have loved having this scene in there. David Harbour would have sold the shit out of it. And also I'm going to pitch a sequel, which is David Harbour, former race car driver, has a dream of becoming an esports Gran Turismo driver.
Shut the fuck up.
That's Gran Turismo too. Could a real life race car driver become an esports gameplay?
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, that actually won't happen, but I do sincerely want the other scene. I think that would have been absolutely lovely, and it's really where I thought they were going with this exchange of like lessons that they were giving each other. So no girlfriend, more family, and David Harbour plays the game. Those are my changes.
I love your pitch for Gran Turismo too. I've never been so incredulous that I've told you to shut the fuck up, but my God.
Could a real race car driver become an esports gamer?
Boy.
I think it'd be a fucking slam of a movie.
It's a very different, you know what? Fuck it. Let's have fun. Let's get to Gran Turismo 6 where it's all fiction. I would love to see a movie series that starts based on a true story and it slowly gets more fictional.
David Harbour's replaced with Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
It gets just sillier and sillier.
Love it.
Yeah, those are my changes. Andrew, what would you change?
You pretty much took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, the girlfriend?
The girlfriend storyline is gone, which is a shame because there's not many female characters in this film. But
I like
also,
that there were two racers at least.
Yeah. So like, there's some, but like, it's not a big prevalent thing. But it's tricky when you do stuff based on a true story and blah blah blah. But it doesn't. It just eats up time because I think the sister and the brother also needs to go.
Oh, and the brother. Yeah, he doesn't do much.
He doesn't do anything.
I imagine he had a real brother.
And you know what? You could easily just flub one detail and you could be like, the brother is either off to university or is at a soccer training camp and is trying to get into like a lower league team. And then you could still have that like your brother's playing soccer type of thing without having him there. Because then we don't need like... Then we don't need the like, I'm at a party, I'm drinking, I like a girl on Instagram. It's like brother, girlfriend, both gone.
Gone.
Just truly out of here.
Love that.
Yeah, get them out of here. And the other big thing is that I know you mentioned that like we need to see him drive a car really well before he gets to race a car.
We do.
Whereas I think driving your drunk brother home from like a weird party that gets in the way of the thing that you love and is actually kind of interrupts the flow of the plot sucks. And then when we see him kind of like give up on the lesson his dad is trying to teach him and go do the thing he loves, he rides a bicycle to it. And I'm like, that actually would have been the scene
for him to drive a car before he drives the game.
Without permission, you take your dad's car and you race that motherfucker there. And it shows you good at driving right before you get into the simulation. It flubs the details, but then it cuts out the brother storyline. It cuts out the girlfriend storyline. It doesn't make it a weird, I'm running away from the cops for a dumb, convoluted reason. And it is just a like, no, I'm not running away from things and I'm not doing it the night before my dream. I'm running toward my dream and I'm showing the audience my skill set. So that's my big change there.
I love that change. It cuts like 15 or 20 minutes out of the movie that we didn't need. And also that is just such a better character than like, also I don't really like this like POC character running from the cops. It just feels bad. Like it's not a good mouthfeel. So yeah, him like taking his dad's car, which isn't stealing. His dad would just be like, hey, and like just racing to qualify for this thing through the streets. Yeah, that would have been great. That would have been an awesome like the real life driving transitions into the game.
Yeah.
Driving. Yeah. Would have been fantastic. I love that change.
Thank you.
Adore it.
And to piggyback off of one of yours, it wasn't one of mine a minute ago. But get David Harbour in the thing. That's the post credit. It's like
It feels like a post credit. Yeah.
It's like Rocky 3 when like Rocky and Apollo are having the rematch in the gym alone, and it's like, ring the bell, Rocky, ding, ding. It's that, but it's the two of them in one of those simulation pods, and it's like, let's get you back out on the track, and being like, maybe like Jan has to like get into the menus first to get the car going.
But once it gets to the simulator, he's like,
He's
oh shit, I'm great.
and then they're racing each other. Yeah, I think that would be cute now that you say it.
A great scene.
I love it.
I want it.
I think we've made this better.
I think we've made it better. Already a pretty good movie, though.
Pretty good time.
A pretty good banger.
We had fun with this one.
Yeah.
And inspired by this one.
Based on a true story.
Based on a true story. Much as this is based on a true story. Inspired by this one. Next week, we're going to be back with more not based on a true story stories of people playing video games going pro. We're going to talk about 1989's The Wizard.
I love this because we have done many video game movies, but I do love the theme of movies about playing video games.
It's not a video game movie.
No.
It's a movie about
playing
video
games.
Video games. So 1989's The Wizard, starring Fred Savage, is what we're going to be talking about next week on the pod. If you want to get a hold of us in the meantime, you can find me online. I'm on Threads, Instagram. I just joined Blue Sky. We'll see if that does anything for me. But on all of them, I'm at Ivamey, Ivimey.
You can find me on Tumblr at Words of Diana. We're everywhere but Twitter.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes. And you can visit FromSuperheroes.com to check out all the podcasts on our network, our webcomic, and everything that we have to offer. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.